The 16th of January 1901, Volume 4. Jesus Christ explains to her the order of charity. As I continued to see him a little indignant with the world, I wanted to occupy myself with placating him, but he distracted me by saying to me, "The charity most acceptable to me is toward those who are closest to me, and those who are closest to me are the purging souls, because they are confirmed in my grace, and there is no opposition between my will and theirs. They live continuously in me. They ardently love me, and I am forced to see them suffer within myself, impotent to give themselves the slightest relief on their own. Oh, how tortured my heart is by the position of these souls, because they are not far away but close to me, not only close but inside of me. And how pleasing to my heart one who interests himself with them. Suppose you had a mother or a sister who lived with you in a state of sorrow, incapable of helping themselves on their own, and then someone else, foreign, who lived outside of your house, also in a state of sorrows, but capable of helping himself by himself. Would you not be more pleased if someone occupied himself with relieving your mother or sister, rather than the foreign one who can help himself on his own?" And I, "Certainly, O Lord." Then he added, "The second charity most acceptable to my heart is for those who, though living on this earth, are almost like the purging souls. That is, they love me, they always do my will, they interest themselves with my things as if they were their own. Now if these are oppressed, in need, in a state of sufferings, and someone occupies himself with relieving them and helping them, this is more pleasing to my heart than if it were done to others." Then Jesus disappeared, and as I found myself inside myself, it seemed to me that those things did not go according to the truth. So on coming back, my adorable Jesus made me understand that what he had told me was according to the truth. There was only something left to say about the members separated from him, which are the sinners, that if one occupied himself with reuniting these members, this would be very acceptable to his heart. The difference that exists is this, that if a sinner were oppressed in the midst of a misfortune, and one occupied himself not to convert him, but to relieve him and help him materially, the Lord would be more pleased if this were done for those who are in the order of grace. In fact, if these suffer, it is always a product either of the love of God for them or of their love for God, while if sinners suffer, the Lord sees in them the mark of guilt and of their obstinate will. This is how I seem to understand. After all, I leave the judgment to those who have the right to judge me, whether this goes according to the truth or not. End of the reading. The 16th of January 1906, Volume 6. No one can resist the truth. One who lives in the sphere of the divine will resides in the abode of all riches. Continuing in my usual state, my blessed Jesus came for a little and told me, "No one can resist the truth, nor can man say that it is not the truth. As evil and stupid as one might be, he cannot say that white is black and that black is white, that light is darkness and that darkness is light. Only one who loves it embraces it and puts it to work, and one who does not love it remains perturbed and tormented." And he disappeared like a flash. A little later he came back and added, "My daughter, one who lives in the sphere of my will resides in the abode of all riches, and one who lives outside of this sphere of my will resides in the abode of all miseries. This is why it is said in the Gospel that one who has will be given, and one who has not will be deprived of the little he has. In fact, since one who lives in my will resides in the abode of all riches, it is no wonder that he will continue to be enriched more and more with all goods, because he lives in me as though in his own house. And keeping him in me, would I perhaps be stingy? Would I not keep giving him day after day, now one favour, now another, never ceasing to give to him until I have shared all my goods with him? Yes, indeed. On the other hand, for one who lives in the abode of miseries, outside of my will, his own will is already in itself the greatest of miseries and the destroyer of every good. So what is the wonder if he has a little bit of good, not having contact with my will, and being seen as useless in that soul, it is taken away from him? End of the reading. The 16th of January 1923. Volume 15. The Second General Turmoil. I felt very afflicted because of the privation of my sweet Jesus, and I thought to myself, why does he not come? Who knows where I offended him that he is hiding from me? And while I was thinking this, and who knows how many other things which it is not necessary to say here, my adorable Jesus moved in my interior, and clasping me tightly to his most holy heart, with tender and compassionate voice, told me, my daughter, after so much time that I have been coming to you, you should have understood by yourself the reason of my hiding, though hidden not outside but inside of you. Then sighing, he added, it is the second general turmoil that the nations are preparing, and I will remain posted in you and as though on the lookout to see what they are doing. I have done everything to dissuade them. I have given them light, grace. I called you in a special way during the past months to make you suffer more, so that my justice, finding an embankment in you and one more satisfaction in your pains, might let light and grace descend more freely into their minds, so as to dissuade them from this second turmoil. But everything has been in vain. The more they united together, the more discords, hatreds, and injustices they fomented, to the point of forcing the oppressed to take up arms to defend themselves. And when it comes to defending the oppressed, and justice also natural, I must concur, more so since the nations which appear to be victorious succeeded on the basis of the most perfidious injustice. They should have understood this by themselves and been meeker toward the oppressed. On the contrary, they are more inexorable, wanting not only their humiliation but also their destruction. What perfidy more than diabolical! They are not yet satiated with blood. How many more poor peoples will perish? I grieve, but the earth wants to be purged. More cities will be destroyed. I too will claim many lives through the scourges I will send from heaven. And while this happens, I will remain in you as though posted and on the lookout. And he seemed to be hiding more inside of me. I felt immersed in a sea of bitterness because of this speaking of Jesus. Then afterwards I felt surrounded by people who are praying, as well as my celestial Mama, who, extending her hand into my interior, grabbed one arm of Jesus and pulled him out, saying to him, my son, come into the midst of peoples. Don't you see into what a sea of storms they are about to plunge themselves, such that it will cost them a sea of blood? But as much as she pulled him, Jesus did not want to come out. And she, turning to me, pray to him very hard that things may be milder. So I started praying, and now he would place his ear in mine, letting me hear the movements of peoples and the noise of the weapons. Now he would show me various races of peoples uniting together, some ready to wage war and some preparing themselves. So clinging tightly to my Jesus, I said to him, "Placate yourself, my love, placate yourself. Don't you see how much confusion of peoples there is? How many turmoils? If this is the preparation, what will it be in act?" And Jesus, my daughter, they themselves are the ones who want this. The perfidy of man wants to reach the excesses, and each one wants to draw the other into the abyss. However, the union of different races will serve my glory later on. End of the reading. The 16th of January 1927, Volume 20. How in the kingdom of the fiat all things are complete, even the shades of all colours. How one who lives in it takes everything all at once. I continue to plunge myself in the supreme volition, and my sweet Jesus made himself seen, leaning his head upon mine. And since I was suffering, I said to him, "My love, see, I am in your lovable will. And since I want to come to heaven with you, it is your very will, not mine, that asks you to take me with you. Therefore make your own will content, which being everywhere praise you everywhere, in the heavens, in the sun, in the sea, that you may no longer keep its little daughter in the exile, far away from you, but that you may let her land, after so many hardships and privations of yourself, into the celestial fatherland. Oh, please have compassion for me and for your will that praise you." And Jesus, all compassion for me, told me, "Poor daughter, you are right. I know how much your exile costs you. And to persuade me, you make me be prayed by my own will. More powerful device you could not find. But know, daughter, that the supreme fiat wants another thing from you. It wants that on your part, all the beauties, all the varieties of multicoloured colours, all of their shades be formed in its kingdom. The beauties are there, the colours in all their varieties have been ordered, but all the shades are missing. And I want nothing to be missing on your part, for the decorum and the beauty of my kingdom. If you knew how one more shade stands out more, how embellishing it is. And do you know how these shades can be formed? Another saying of mine can be one more shade in the varieties of the colours. One little round of yours in my will, one little pain of yours, one offering, one prayer in the fiat, are many other shades which you will add, and which my will delight in administering to you. In it things are all complete, nor would it tolerate that its first daughter would not take all of its complete acts, as much as it is possible for creature, in order to form its divine kingdom. After this I continued my flight in the supreme volition, and my sweet Jesus, moving in my interior, told me, "My daughter, one who lives in the divine will takes everything together as though in one jump. In fact, since the divine will is everywhere, there is nothing that can escape it. Its life is eternal. Its immensity knows no limits nor circumferences. Therefore the soul who lives in it takes the eternal God, all of heaven, the sun, everything that exists, the Virgin, the angels, the saints, in sum, everything. And as she prays, palpitates, breathes, loves, her acts become common to all. Therefore all palpitate from her heartbeat, all breathe with her breath, all love with her love, because wherever my will extends, it moves all to do the act of one who lives in it. From this it happens that, since the sovereign queen has the first place in the divine fiat, she feels the little daughter who lives in it close to herself, and associating with her, she repeats what she does together with her, and places her seeds of grace, of light, of love in common, because one is the will of the mama and of the little daughter. Even more, the height of the sovereign of heaven feels honoured in her with acts of a divine will. She feels that this little daughter enters into her seas, and shaking them with her acts, she makes them swell, to redouble them and expand them. But to do what? to let her Creator receive redoubled divine glory and love from her very seas of love, and to place the seas of her celestial Mama as though on a counter, so that she may receive double glory. Therefore, though little this creature moves everything, she imposes herself on everything. All let her do. All feel the power of the good she wants to give to all. So, she's little and strong. She's little and she finds herself everywhere. She's little and her prerogative is littleness. Therefore she possesses nothing, not even her will, because, voluntarily, she has given it to the one who had right over it. And the divine will gives her everything. There is nothing which it does not entrust to her. Therefore the prodigies of the living in my will are indescribable and innumerable. Oh, if all knew what it means to live in my will and the good they receive. Even more, there is no good which they do not take. There is no good which they cannot do. They would all compete and yearn to live in my will, holy and adorable. End of the reading. The 16th of January 1930, Volume 27. How in creation, redemption and kingdom of the divine will, the operating role is of the divine will, and the three divine persons are concurring. How the creation wants to narrate the story of the divine will, how one who lives in it receives everything, can give everything, and takes part in all the divine qualities. I was following the divine fiat in the work of creation, and oh, how beautiful, pure, majestic, ordered it seemed to me, worthy of he who had created it. It seemed to me that each created thing had its little story to tell me, that it enclosed about that fiat that had given it life, and as it issued them to the light of the day, they were to narrate it, so as to make known what they knew of the divine will. And united together they were to narrate the long story of that fiat that had not only created them, but in preserving them, gave them the task to narrate its long story, giving each created thing a lesson to narrate to creatures, to make known that divine will that had created them. But while my poor mind was wandering in looking at the creation, and wanted to listen to the many beautiful lessons that each created thing wanted to give me about the divine fiat, my sweet Jesus, coming out from within my interior, told me, "Little daughter of my eternal will, I want to make known to you that the work of creation, of redemption, and that of the kingdom of our will are all work of our supreme fiat. It is the fiat that took on the operating role, and the three divine persons took on the concurring role. But it was to our divine fiat that we gave the task to create the creation, to form the redemption, and to re-establish the kingdom of our divine will. In fact, in the acts that come out from within the divinity, it is always our divine volition that takes on the active role, though all of our divine being concurs together, because our will has the directing and operating virtue and office of all our works. Just as you have hands in order to operate and feet in order to walk, and if you want to operate, you do not make use of the feet but of the hands, though all of your being is concurring in the work you want to do, so it is with our divine being. There is not one part of us that does not concur, but our divine will takes on the directing and operating role. More so, since it has its dwelling in our divinity, its life flows within our divine womb. So it is our life. And while it goes out of our divine womb, that is, it goes out and it remains, it carries outside of ourselves the creative virtue of what it wants to do, direct and preserve. Now, as you see, everything is work of our divine fiat, and therefore all created things are like as many children who want to tell the story of their mama, because feeling her life within themselves, and knowing the origin from which they came, they feel the need to tell each one of them who their mama is, how good she is, how beautiful she is, and how they are happy and beautiful because they were given birth by such a mother. Oh, if creatures possessed my divine will as life, they would know many beautiful things about it, and knowing it and not speaking about it would be impossible for them. Therefore they would do nothing else but speak of it, love it, and lay down their lives in order not to lose it. Then he added, "My daughter, our divine will is everything, and since it is everywhere, the soul who lives immersed in it does nothing other than take continuously from God, and God is in continuous act of pouring himself into her, but so much that he not only fills her, but since she is incapable of containing everything inside, he forms seas around her. In fact, our divine will would not be content if in the soul who lives in it, it were not able to let her share in all the particles of our divine qualities, as much as it is possible for creature, in such a way that the soul must be able to say, 'You give me everything, and everything I give you. In your divine will I can give you all of myself.' This is why, then, one who lives in our fiat is our inseparable one. We feel her littleness flow in our power, and she fills herself with our power as much as she can, and honours our power, because she places it in the condition of communicating itself to the creature. We feel her flow in our beauty, and she fills herself with beauty, in our love, and she fills herself with our love, in our sanctity, and she remains filled with it. But while she remains filled, she honours us, because she places us in the condition of embellishing her with our divine beauty, of filling her with our love, of impressing our sanctity, in such a way as to place all our divine qualities in attitude. In a word, she puts us in the condition of operating and working hard to communicate ourselves to her, because it is not befitting for us to keep her in our divine will as dissimilar from us. She may be little, she cannot enclose all our divine being, but as for sharing with her all our divine qualities, as much as it is possible for creature, in a way that nothing must be lacking to her, this is possible. Therefore we want to deny her nothing, and besides, we would deny it to our divine will, and would be like denying to our very selves what we ourselves want to do. Therefore be attentive, my daughter. In our fiat you will find the true purpose for which you were created, your origin, your divine nobility. You will find everything, will receive everything, and will give us everything." End of the reading. The 16th of January 1938, Volume 35. How the divine will calls the creature in its acts in order to donate its works to her. If the creature answers, she calls God and receives the gift. Exchange of wills between the creatures and God. The divine volition is always around me. Now it calls me, now it squeezes me to its lap of light. And if I respond to its call, if I give it my embrace in return, it loves me so much, wants to give me so much, that I don't know where to put it all. I remain confused in the middle of so much love and generosity, so I call the holy will that loves me so much. And my sweet Jesus, visiting my little soul, with unspeakable tenderness told me, "Daughter of my will, you must know that only your Jesus knows all the secrets of my fiat, because, as the Word of the Father, I glorify myself in becoming the narrator of all that it has done for the creature. Its love is exuberant. It called you in everything it did, both in the works of creation and in the works of redemption. And if you listened to its call by saying, 'I'm here, what do you want?' it would give you the gifts of its works. If you didn't answer, it'd keep calling you always until you would listen. So, if it created heaven, it called you in that blue vault, saying, "My daughter, come and see how beautiful is the heaven I've created for you. I created it to make you a gift. Come and receive this great gift. If you don't listen to me, I cannot give it to you. And you leave me here calling you constantly, holding the gift in my hands. But I won't stop calling you until I see you possessing my gift." Heaven has such a great expanse that the earth is like a little hole compared to it. Therefore everyone has his own place, one heaven for each. And I call everyone by name to give them the gift. But what is not the pain of my will in calling again and again without being heard, while they look at heaven as if it were not a gift for them? This will of mine loves so much that as it created the sun, it called you with its voices of light, going in search for you and for all, to give it as a gift. Therefore your name is written in the sun, with characters of light. There is no way I can forget it. And as its light descends from its sphere to reach you, it is calling you always. It is not satisfied in calling you from the height of its sphere, but loving you more and more, it wants to go down to the bottom to tell you by means of light and heat, "Receive my gift. I created this sun for you." And if it is heard, how festive it becomes, seeing that the creature possesses the sun as her own property, as a gift received from her Creator. My will calls you everywhere and in every place. It calls you in the wind, now with authority, now with moans, now as if wanting to cry, to move you to listen, so that you may receive the gift of this element. It calls you in the sea, through its murmuring, to tell you, "This sea is yours, take it as a gift from me." Even in the air you breathe, in the singing little bird, it calls you to say, "I give you everything as a gift." Now, if the soul responds to the call, the gift is confirmed. If she does not respond, the gifts remain suspended between heaven and earth. In fact, if my will calls, it is because it wants to be called, to maintain the exchange between itself and the creatures, to make itself known, and to make incessant love arise between itself and the one who lives in its fiat. It is easier to hear its many calls only for those who live in the divine will, since at the same time it calls her from within its works, it also makes itself heard in the depth of her soul, calling from both sides. What more should I tell you about the many times I called you and still call you in all the acts of my humanity? I was conceived, and I called you to give you the gift of my conception. I was born, and I called you more strongly, to the extent of crying, moaning, and wailing, to move you to compassion, so that you might answer me soon, to give you the gift of my birth, of my tears, moans, and wailings. If my celestial mamma swaddled me in bandages, I called you to swaddle you together with me. In sum, I called you in every word I said, in every step I took, in every pain I suffered, in every drop of my blood. I called you even in my last breath on the cross, to give you everything as a gift, and to keep you safe, I placed you with me in the hands of my celestial Father. Where didn't I call you to give you all that I did, to pour out my love, to make you feel how much I loved you, to let the sweetness of my enrapturing voice descend into your heart, a voice that enraptures, creates, and conquers? To hear your voice telling me, "Here I am, tell me, Jesus, what do you want?" As return for my love and as a promise to accept my gifts, so that I could say, "I have been heard, my daughter recognized me and loves me." It is true that these are excesses of our love, but loving without being recognized and loved, nobody could endure or continue to live. Therefore we will continue our follies of love, our stratagems, to give course to our life of love. Then he added with even more intense emphasis of love, "My daughter, our sighs are so many, so great our anxiety, for the desire to have the creature always with us, that we want always to give her of ourselves. But do you know what we want to give her? Our will. By giving her our will, there is no good we do not give to her. So, having her as though drowned in our love, beauty, sanctity, and so forth, we say, we have given you so much, and you give us nothing? The creature, confused because she has nothing to give us, and even if she has something, it is ours, looks at her will and gives it to us as the most beautiful homage to her Creator. And do you know what we do? If she gave us her will in every instant, each time we would give her the merit, as if she had a will for each time she has given it to us, and we give her our will for each time she gave us her own, redoubling each time our sanctity, our love, etc. In seeing this, I said, my dear Jesus, I gain much in receiving the merit each time I give you my will, and having yours in exchange is the greatest gain for me. But what is your gain? And he, with a smile, to you the merit, and to me the gain of receiving all the glory of my divine will. And each time I give it to you, my divine glory, which I receive through the creature, is doubled, multiplied, increased 100-fold. Then I can say, she gives me all, and I give her all. End of the reading. There are no more readings today. Have a blessed day.